So this morning I felt called to look at a sketch that I did in 2015 of a rock gnome that I saw in a waterfall in some beautiful woods in Cornwall. And as I drew him and as I was looking at the photo I took of the waterfall where I could see his form, I noticed he was holding a book, and this message came through which said, "You need to write about us and trust what you're seeing." He said something about how we appear in the light, how the fairies appear with the light. The sunlight helps you to see them more clearly, psychically. And he said, "You're going to write a book about the pixies." So he is going to be, or about the fairies at that time. I think I'm going to be writing several books about fairies, to be honest. It's a little bit quieter here. So he's going to be in my book about pixies, as my story is how I've come to write about the fairies. But my journey with fairies goes back to childhood. Really, it started back in my childhood. Through just being out in nature, in my parents' garden, in my grandmother's garden, and that's where it all began. So I felt that day that I met this rock gnome, I was called to that place, and there was a series of things that led me to that place. I'd gone to Cornwall to go to a sound concert which was being held in a place called Cornwall Caverns, which is some amazing caves in Cornwall, and some friends were doing a sound concert and I met some wonderful people there. It was really healing for me. A couple of years before, I discovered sound healing as a way of helping me to heal from chronic fatigue, ME. Just going to walk around here. And the day after this concert I went to Waterfall Falls. I felt I really needed to go there. I think somebody might have said that it was a beautiful place to visit. So I felt called to go there, and that's where I discovered this beautiful waterfall with the rock gnome in it. So just by following my intuition, I discovered this amazing place and began this journey of realising that I need to write about the fairies, and that was 2015. And since then, so much has unfolded. I've kept a fairy journal, which I've spoken about before, which I really recommend that you do, to keep a record of your fairy encounters, because when you look back and read back through, you'll see how certain events are connected. So one of the things that I like to do before I travel is to come to some of the places that I connect with locally. So Bagley Woods is one of those, and I'm going to Scotland on Friday. that's part of connecting with my ancestry, my grandmother on my mum's side, visiting some amazing places. Some wonderful opportunities have come up there. I'm going to meet somebody in Cornwall, a friend of a friend. There's some incredible places we're going to go to. Where we're staying, the cottage that I've booked is in a place called Fortrose, which is only about 20-minute walk, 2-minute drive from a place called the Fairy Glen at Rosemarkie, and I really feel called there. I didn't realise, but that place is connected to fairies through the stories of Robert Ogilvy Crombie, who was taken to the Fairy Glen as a child by his parents and told to make a wish in the fairy pools there. And ultimately, later in life, he ended up working with the fairies and seeing the fairies and having his own fairy experiences. So, really looking forward to visiting there. So I'm standing here, there's lots of lovely little seeds coming down from trees above me. Ah, beautiful. What else I was going to say about being called to places? Yeah, so when you're called to work with the fairies, and when you're called to places by them, you will receive confirmation that they're pleased, or they'll give you a sign. So I tend to follow signs in nature, and there are several signs that become part of the communication that I have with fairies, and one of them is hearts in nature. So today I felt drawn to come here, and one of the first things I saw as I crossed the bridge into the park, which leads onto these woods, was a heart in stone down beside the river, the other side of the bridge. It was the first thing I saw, and I thought, wow, they're saying thank you, welcome, thank you for following your intuition. So you may have your own language of communication with fairies. Mine tends to be, from an artist, a musician, tends to be visual and sound. So I see signs, I see little faces, I see little symbols in nature. I hear messages, I hear music, that kind of thing. And that's not all the time, by the way. It's always at specific times that are synchronistic. So when I receive these messages, I see these things, they always tie in with a previous experience or a previous intuitive thought. So it's like a chain of events that are all connected. It's not just random. It has some meaning to it. You know what I mean if you work psychically or with nature spirits yourselves, or anything else.